Well, hello and grand rising, as we say, because apparently good morning is like mourning, like grieving, and you don't want to grieve at the beginning of the day, even though you're grieving, the night's dying and the morning's birthing. But grand rising is kind of a cool thing. We unconsciously are often using language that we don't know that can be self-diminishing, like blessing, be less, be lessing. So anyway, just a little lingo-y chat there. So I wanted to share with you guys why I am almost relentlessly vocal and sometimes repetitive. It is actually just because, again, I have in the last 3 to 5 years dealt with thousands of clients who have told me they're either sexual assault stories or their incest or molestation or rape stories. So there's that. We should be able to say the words and not infantilize ourselves because we're worried about being demonetized. I agree with Sloan Bella when she says that. Use the words. I still use the words adrenochrome and frazzle drip. And if I get deplatformed, or I'm not even monetized, so it's probably why I sometimes get away with a little bit more with the censors and the AI algorithm. So anyway, recently I had a client, 17 years old, in a small school, and with some kid who was brutal to her, really awful, spread terrible rumors about her and that just weren't true. And it triggered her to remember that she had been molested by someone when she was 5, 6, 7, 8, around those ages. And so, she had been victimized as a young child. She's now in high school, stuck with this kid who has that same kind of demon on board, that same kind of energy, that same, I want to call it a misogyny, lusty, crusty kind of entity that hates women, hates girls. It's one of those, hey, beautiful, when they like you, and then you're a bitch when they don't. So I'm always a little suspicious of that, frankly. I try to give people the benefit of the doubt. I have female friends who will say, hey, beautiful. So it's not the hey, beautiful itself. It's like, is there a vibe there? How many people are you saying, hey, beautiful to? That's me. I just go in my head with that because, that can turn on you real quick. It's like when you go to the bars or when I was younger in my 20s, you would go to a bar and a guy would say, hey, beautiful, can I buy you a drink? And you'd be like, no, thank you. And then you try to be polite like the first 14 times. And then like the 15th time they are not getting the message or not backing off or understanding that you're uncomfortable is when you kind of go, no, I have a boyfriend or I'm not interested or whatever you say. And then they will say something like, well, bitch, you're not that great anyway. So you go from hey, beautiful to bitch. So I figure we just lean into bitch and we embrace bitch. And we, there's an acronym that says bitch, B-I-T-C-H, babe in total control of herself, So I kind of like that interpretation. It's sorry to say, but polite and nice gets you raped on this planet. It just does, okay? And so I'm not saying we all have to be bitchy all the time, but I like my little orb here. It's showing me, all these little striations. This is a salt lamp, and it's so beautifully round. And nobody's calling this thing a bitch. Look at how complicated the patterns are and how beautiful it is, right? It's not one thing. It's many things within one thing. So that's what I think we could all understand. We're multidimensional beings, that you can be kind when you feel a natural inclination to be kind, not because somebody's telling you to be kind. You can be compassionate, mostly with yourself, which means you will naturally be kind and compassionate with others. And sometimes you gotta be a bitch, man. I do remember before I knew they were Illuminati themselves, reading about Tina Fey and what's her face? Amy Poehler, and they had that whole bitches get shit done kind of thing. And I agree. I feel like you can be kind, you can be soft, you can be feminine, you can be nurturing, compassionate, all those things. But lying to yourself and others is actually not kind, right? So if you keep pretending that these people that not most of you now at this point, I think I have a lot of friends who are like, forget about celebrities. But when we're younger and we're curated to want to be famous and fame, I'm going to live forever and see my name in lights and all that stuff that we fell for. I admit I fell for it. So that's my part in it. But that said, we're looking at the victim perp dynamic on the planet right now. And we're looking at what victim consciousness is and what perpetrator consciousness is. So perp consciousness thinks, well, I'm get away with murder rich. That's actually a line from Ted Lasso, which is a very Mason compromise program, as they all are these days, right? And probably have been for centuries, if not millennia. Not that we had TV 2,000 years ago, but you get the drift. But anyway, it's programming. The TV is programming, the movie is programming, news is programming, and when you grow up and you're in school, you're being indoctrinated and programmed, and the church is programming. And so all of what we need to overcome is this programming, okay? This programming that if you've been victimized, you're a victim, and then there's victim consciousness, and if you've been the victim in this life, maybe you've been the bully or the perp in other lives, and karma, la la la, balancing, la la la. And nobody calls something to them, when they're 3. So let's get over that one. So yeah, I want to keep calling things out. I am actually jazzed on that and feel excited about that. And it lights me up and brings my power back to me that I was leaking and losing for years at the whims of these monsters. So, I'm definitely going to say I learned my own inner monster. I learned my own demons. I learned my own shadow. I did my inner child, work. But this poor 17-year-old girl, is didn't want to tell her parents what had happened to her when she was 4 or 5. And I thought, you're coming to a stranger. You're sitting with me for 15 minutes and I don't know you. And somehow you're, I guess, feeling safe with me to open up about what you're going through with this. And I'm very grateful for that. And I feel very humbled by that. But I also wonder what's going on that kids and teens and even grown adults don't want to say what happened to them, because is that some kind of shame, or you feel dirty or damaged or broken because you didn't do it? You were a kid, you were innocent. Or you were a teen and you were innocent. And somebody, abused power and abused your innocence and took it and fragmented it. And so we have to reclaim that. And we, want to think positive and let's focus forward, and let's not look back in the past, or why'd she wait so long, or cash grab, or, then there's the poor girl who can't even talk to her mom and dad about this happening to me because she doesn't want them to have hurt feelings or feel bad that they were in some way negligent or unable to protect her in those situations. Again, you can't be, with your kid 24/7, but if you talk to them openly about things, then they may be more willing and inclined to come to you when they're up against something challenging, rather than, swallow it or push it down or pretend it isn't happening and suffering. And how this came about is she said she wants to be a victim advocate someday, and she wants to learn the law around how to protect victims rather than the system, which now really protects perpetrators. And we need to flip that. We need to flip that around and stop victim blaming and shaming. And then, yes, we do need to discern what is victim, what is a violator, and what are those energies within us so we can transmute them. And I know for me with my situation, I didn't want to look crazy or talk about these things, and now I'm just like, oh, the more vocal I get, the more healed I become. And I know I'm judged for it. I'm even judged by close people who want me to just shut up and get over it and move on already. I'm so sick of that Illuminati shit. Can't you just, stop looping? No, actually I can't. I've had years of therapy around it, and there are still triggers that happen, and it's still cathartic for me to talk about it. So something I used to feel when people would talk about like how they'd been harmed, I'd feel like, oh, you're just stuck. You're stuck there and you're wallowing. And I think, no, that's the wrong attitude. If we genuinely want people to heal, they have to be able to talk about it. They have to feel safe to talk about it. They have to feel like they can talk about it until the charge is gone. They have to feel that they're believed. They have to feel that they're supported to be angry as long as they need to be angry, to feel that discomfort so they can get to the other side where the healing really does happen. And healing isn't like a one and done. You can be playing a whack-a-mole game here with your healing. You can think, oh, I got that one handled. That one doesn't bother me anymore. This one's okay. And then 5 more will come at you. And so it's so important for us to, I guess just be authentic and genuine in your expression, which means you're not suppressing yourself or other people when they're talking about hard things that make you uncomfortable or that make you have to look at your own unhealed traumas or your own triggers, right? So I want to say that, in some ways my heart is shattered and broken open daily to let more love and light in. Genuine love, genuine light, not the love and light brigade or the be kind brigade or any of the other, psyops within psyops, which are, again, more programming. So, it's so important that on a planet that secrecy was ruling the day for, again, I always use the word millennia. Like, this is new. Me Too is kind of fairly new, and I know there's backlash around it, and it's not a perfect movement, like nothing is. But, victims and people who have been victimized are really overcomers and transmuters and whistleblowers and healers and truth tellers, because the system, like I said, the B system supports the ones who cause harm rather than the harmed. And so we have to change that. And we don't change it by bypassing or putting our head in the sand or shutting people up who are trying to, change the script and dynamic and the paradigm by saying things that are kind of raw and that can be very hard to hear, very hard to know what to do with. But all you have to do is just be a field of love and listen. And that's one of the greatest gifts we can give people when they are sharing those things that they haven't shared or that they haven't felt safe enough to be vocal about, or that they felt ashamed, like somehow they magnetized it or law of attraction brought it into their experience or whatever. I mean, look, I get it. You create your own reality. But, if you're 3 or 5 or 10 or 40 and someone hurts you, the reality you need to create then is one of not being ashamed to admit that you've been hurt, to say my healing, includes me talking about the hurt, even if it makes people itchy or twitchy. And that's just a huge, change that we are undergoing. And that's so going to be 2024 is all this stuff coming out, and there's going to be so many people that will do, which I understand because I was there too once. Yeah, I don't want to hear that. I want to tune out the negativity and just be positive. I don't have the capacity for that. I can't wrap my head around that. That's too hard. That's too weird. That's too dark. That's too much, right? And that's how perpetrators stay free and victimizers stay caged in their own heads and their own psyches and in their own pain. So liberators want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help us God. Okay? So that's it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And it's just a little love and downloads and crown loads and boom drops, mic drops for you here today. That I'm out there swinging in the arena, in the field, and going in the burning buildings, trying to help people reclaim pieces of their soul, fragmented pieces that were taken from them through violence, violation, and a targeting of innocence. So you can join me and just, to whatever level you can, just listening, just pondering, opening these dialogues in your own homes with your own loved ones, family, friends, coworkers. Or you can click away and just, say that's not for me. That's not where I'm at in my journey. And I totally respect that. I'm losing friends left and right, and they're not friends. People who leave when they encounter something difficult, challenging, or emotionally uncomfortable are definitely not a match to my spirit. So I wish you well, and I send you on your way. But the warriors, the truth tellers, the ones who actually want to be the change, this is what it looks like, guys. This is what it looks like. And this is what it sounds like and feels like and tastes like, okay? So it may be ugly, it may be mean sometimes, it may not make sense until the puzzle pieces start to click into place. But to be the bridge of moving from old paradigms to new ones, it's a bumpy ride sometimes. So just buckle up, buttercups, and do find the light, do find the silver linings, do find happiness and joy and peace. And for me right now, truth-telling is all those things. So it's such a relief, such a release, and total peace. Okay, so from my heart to yours, mwah.